Now that Christmas is over, I can now rightfully say that everything is horrible relating to Christmas, and always has been. There is no other state, evidently, and there is a sole, singular source of it all. The cold. Seriously, the cold is oppressive as all hell. And I'm British, so it's on my contract that I must complain about the weather, regardless of how pleasant it may actually be. Like, I actually don't mind the cold personally, but it is the British way to complain regardless. Because that's fun. Seriously though, the cold is really bad for locking things up, and I hate how it damages the local wildlife. Especially plants, as many trees have to shed their leaves, and many flowers just don't exist anymore due to temperature changes. So PZ2, always realistic, decided that the cold should actually be a mechanic, and thusly made the single biggest mistake of their entire lives. I'm sure that sentence made sense. Twice, I guess, as they did also make chill a condition that some plants can apply. But this is specifically about Frostbite caves, and its icewind, or frostwind, or just frost, or whatever you want to call it really. At the end of the day, it's the same mechanic always, and it's an awful mechanic always. Frostwinds, as I will call them from here on out, are an incredibly annoying mechanic that are the main thing in Frostbite caves. They are the primary gimmick of a world, with slider tiles being separate. There are two stages to the mechanic. The stages of ice that surround a plant, and the ice blocks that happen at the third stage. These are fairly simple. A plant has to have 3 levels of frost before they freeze over. These advance by 1 stage when hit by a Hunter Snowball, which they will fire free of. The only other way for frost to accumulate is by Frostwind, as they will increase the frost stage of each plant by 2. When they freeze over, they will then act as Gravewood, blocking damage from anything in the lane. In addition, the plant will be entirely immobilized until it is freed, and takes longer to defrost, but will have no stages of frost remaining when it does, which is nice. These ice blocks can also appear at the start of a level, acting as free plants. Also at the beginning of the level are zombie ice blocks, which when broken will release the zombie inside. Fairly simple. This mechanic would be incredibly dangerous in normal play, so they had to incorporate a counter. This is where the mechanic starts to really suck the joy out of my soul, because this is where the issues begin. Heating. It is awfully thought out. Some plants will spread warmth in a 3x3 area around themselves when plants are showing signs of frost. This happens fairly quickly, and this will lower the stage by 1, unless it's a full ice block. If it is a full ice block, it will instead do damage straight up to them, doing about 200 damage. This is where problems begin, because I really do not like this mechanic. At all. Honestly, the video could accurately be titled as Heating Sucks, but whatever. Heating requires specific plants to be used. This is certainly better now than it used to, but by the time you get to Frostbite Caves, you only have 3 plants that are good for heating. Snapdragon, Torchwood, and Pepperpult a few levels in. If you're playing an older version, you only got Pepperpult. Torchwood used to be a premium plant at the time, and Snapdragon didn't heat, and the only way to get more heaters was to buy premiums and gemiums. This is excluding Hot Potato, who, frankly, is hilariously inefficient at dealing with frostwinds, so shouldn't really be considered an option. This is similar to other worlds such as Big Wave Beach, where you were required to run Lilypad, or more similarly, Dark Ages where you were forced to run Sunshroom and Puffshroom. Now, this is understandable, but I still don't like these cases. But with these cases, the reasoning they are forced is nice to me. Tide is a key mechanic that changes everything, and so needing another plant to help with it makes sense. The world literally can't work without it. Dark Ages mechanic requires new plants to manage it. You can't deal with a night without cheaper plants being made to compensate. That's just how you have to design the world. However, in these cases, these plants don't define the strategy nearly as much. Lilypad is a mechanic, but it doesn't dictate or control how you approach the level in your deck selection. In other words, it creates strategy as opposed to removing it. Sunshroom and Puffshroom are simply not the kind of plants to control the level, as Sunshroom is a sun producer, and Puffshroom is solely an early game plant for the most part. Heater plants, though, aren't just heater plants. They are actual normally usable plants in their own right, that just so happen to be able to heat plants. This is where my issues really begin. Let's look at Snapdragon to see what I mean, a plant where this is also very literally the case. Snapdragon is a very strong plant unlocked in Pirate Seas. You can use it alone to great effect in most levels. So, when playing Frostbite Caves, why wouldn't you use it? It's a strong plant, a decent heater, and a plant you will likely be running anyways. It's a better heater than the others too, being the cheapest of the ones that aren't instas. So why wouldn't you use Snapdragon when playing optimally? I don't think there is a reasonable answer. Sure, you'll be placing in the back to heat a few plants, and as a melee plant, that isn't going to do great for it, but the plant is so much more effective than anything else, and you may as well just use it if the game forces you to use something, as you don't want to waste seed slots, do you? Even before Snapdragon, Pepperpulse still dealt damage, and was fine enough that you could rely on it for most healing tasks and most damaging tasks. And Fire Pea Shooter exists, which makes this even more pronounced. There is no real reason to vary a strategy up much at all, instead using heaters for mostly everything. This, in my opinion, is absolutely awful design, and is the exact thing a world gimmick shouldn't do. Let me explain. As far as I'm concerned, the job of world gimmicks are to create strategy variety. In a world like Wild West, the minecarts definitely will encourage certain plants, but they don't force them. Plants like celery are stronger, and plants like Ricin are weaker, but you can still use more or less what you want to use. They don't force certain plants or strategies over the other, they simply encourage different plants to be used in interesting ways. In this way, I strongly believe that minecarts are the most, or close to the most, well-designed mechanic in the entire game. On the contrary, Frostwinds encourage players to use the exact same plants over and over. The mechanic is designed in such a way that you are heavily encouraged to just use heaters. If you don't, you get punished hard, with very few plants standing a chance, and it just clearly being unoptimal. It's not that you can't ever use them, it's more so that it just isn't worth it often to go for it, and the simpler strategy is the optimal one. It doesn't help that the only plants immune to Frostwinds at all are heaters and Cold Snapdragon specifically. If more plants were immune, then maybe I could see it working otherwise, but as is, you have to sacrifice so much in order to play in the more fun way, and as far as I'm concerned, that is unacceptable. Well, it's not like I'm gonna do anything about it. Like, what am I gonna do? Go up to PopCap HQ and just yell at them for making a bad world probably a decade ago? Yeah, right. Still, it's definitely the weakest world in the game, and I think it's worthwhile to call out bad worlds. You are fine to still like the world, of course. I consider Frostbite among the worst worlds in the game for Frostwind, sure, but I'm not the messiah of PvZ opinions. Like, you are fine to enjoy Frostbite Caves. I am merely a person, so keep that in mind. The same way PopCap or merely a company. I hope you've learned a little bit about world design in this weird rant-like thing. So, yeah. I'm still planning on doing a code edit video for the record, but I think I may end up making it a larger upload as it needs more time. So I'll do something else in the meantime. Probably. Otherwise, this has been Creeps, and have a good one.